Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this new appointment with 1 Hour with Europe webinar series organized by NTNU Brussels office. Today we have the pleasure to have with us Magda De Carli, which is the head of ERA Spreading Excellence and Research Careers Unit in the GRTD at the European Commission. So we are basically today discussing about the new ERA developments, and also we are going to have a bit of overview of the future. So we are going to have a crystal ball exercise because the ERA role in the competitiveness framework that is built by the Commission politically in this period is going to have a preeminent, how can I say, role in also key actions like the attraction of talents that has been launched officially on the 5th of May by President Ursula von der Leyen and the support of President Macron in Paris. Before starting and giving the word to our fantastic guest of today, I would like to basically remember to you how we are going to work together. You know that 1 Hour with Europe is give the possibility to you to also challenge our speakers. The way it will work will be, we will have a context presentation by our guest today, Magda, that is giving us a bit of state of art and future visions. And then I will give you the possibility to ask to intervene, which means that you are asked to reserve your right to intervene. So don't write your questions. I'm not here to read, but I'm here to just say, open the microphone to him or whoever of you would like to challenge Magda with questions and possible future perspectives, ideas that you can also take on the table. To reserve your right of intervention, just go in the down menu in the Q&A area and just put your name. You write your name and I will read the names that have asked to intervene after Magda presentation, and we will have a common dialogue. So Magda, good morning. Welcome to NTNU Brussels office. It's a pleasure to have you here. I was very pleased when you accepted our invitation because I always love to have a bit of a perspective view. And today I know you're going to give some anticipation about also the future era, that is the interpretation of the fifth freedom. Am I right?
Indeed. No, yeah. Fully correct. So thanks a lot, Massimo, for the invitation, and thanks to all the ones that connected to listen to me, and as Massimo said, challenging me. I would say just maybe to ask easy questions at the end. So today I'm trying to give you a bit of an overview of very quickly the European research area, because no matter how many presentations we do and how much we talk about ERA, very often we discover that not as many people as we would like to know about ERA. So for those of you who knows, it will be a bit of a reminder, and for those who don't know, is the occasion to discover the ERA in a moment that makes ERA really on top of the agenda. So ERA is the European research area. So my first slide is in fact to put the things in context. So yeah, as Massimo was saying, I'm head of unit and deputy director as well of the ERA and Innovation Policy Directorate in DG Research and Innovation, working for many years in the area of research and innovation. So in the next slides, I give you a bit of the broad context. It is, as I said, it's many years I'm working in the area of research and innovation, and never as now I've been so pleased to see research and innovation really becoming on top of the political agenda. This is something that for those that are operating in the research and innovation field, it's something that we were hoping to see for many years, and now it's really the moment. If you look at what happened in 24, we had two very high-level reports putting research and innovation as key elements of competitiveness. So Letta report, April 24, much more than a market, mentioning the fifth freedoms. This is not a new concept, but it was very good to remind that it's very important to support research and innovation and create the conditions for circulation and to flourish, and for research to flourish. September 24, we had the Draghi report, The Future of European Competitiveness, mentioning and wishing to have a research and innovation union. So again, research and innovation at the center of the agenda and of the in competitiveness and prosperity. And then President von der Leyen, of course, takes it in the political guidelines, July 24, again mentioning research and at the heart and innovation at the heart of the economy. So, as I said, never as before, in this moment, research and innovation in Europe is on the top of the agenda. And you must have heard as well the latest intervention of President von der Leyen also at STOA. What this type of importance comes in a moment also in if we look at the wide context in 2025 we are at the 25th years of ERA. So we are celebrating 25 years of ERA, which are indeed and ERA is indeed looking at very much related to all these elements that have been indicated in the reports and in the political agenda of the Commission. On the left side, you see already some of the key achievements in these 25 years, where, in fact, as of its launch, we have launched Euraccess, looking at the research codes. European Research Council was there, European Research Infrastructure Consortium, European Open Science Cloud, until 21, where again we see a revamp. I will go in details on that, but what is important as well is that while this is research and innovation is on top of the agenda in Europe, this is not always, especially in this moment, recognized as a key element in other parts of the world. That's why, and this is also part of the current situation, what has been achieved until now, what we want to do in the future is key to pass an important message that Europe is to be chosen for science, because Europe chooses science as well. So we are in this context of, as much as possible, passing important messages of what Europe is for science. And of course, this is very closely related to the ERA. So we are in this favorable moment of research in Europe, of course less favorable in general, because we would like to see research and innovation on top of the agenda everywhere in the world, but this doesn't mean that Europe can indeed become a magnet for attracting researchers. Now, this is the overall context, and this is just to tell you why it is at this moment important to see what ERA has achieved, but especially how ERA can really develop further. So in my next slides, I will zoom in on ERA and the policy agenda 25-27. So just reminding you, please, next slide, and the next again. Okay.
The system was not obeying.
So, okay, so very quickly, reminder, if you want to see what ERA is, look at Article 179 of the treaty, where it explains ERA to be a single borderless market for research, innovation, technology across the EU. Countries come together and improve their research policy system. So this is the important thing. We are speaking about the countries coming together, is the coordination of the R&D systems. And of course, this is to achieve free movement of researchers, knowledge, and innovation. So if you see what is in the treaty, it's very much related to what is very important to support now and to implement. In the next slides, you see a bit policy framework. I always like to say that ERA, of course, 25 years has not always been on top of exactly developments and agenda. So there was a very nice, a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning with a lot of achievements. Then there is a moment in which it seems that it's coming to, it has a bit of a lower moment. And then I think around 2021, you have again another steep increase in terms of also enthusiasm and ambition to wanting to achieve more. Again, the recognition that ERA is important, and we try, at that time I was also part of the task force that together with the member states, of course, for a renewed ERA. And it was, again, the idea of a strong collaboration with the Commission, so real partnership with the Commission, member states, Commission, and of course also, since it's a European research area, also the associated countries and the stakeholders. So there was a very topic moment with the Pact for Research and Innovation adopted in 21, the identification of 10 values and principles and 4 areas of priorities to deepen the era, broadening the era to go towards further topics, amplifying access to excellence, and advancing R&D investments and reforms. These 4 areas are the ones that then brings in actions to move forward to their objectives. And this is through the ERA policy agenda. So there was the launch of this new system through which we have specific agendas that are biannual agendas that helps bringing forward the actions that helps to address the 4 priority areas. We had the policy agenda 2024 and just adopted in May the policy agenda 25-27. What is very important in this new phase, and this is why it's important to talk to everyone, and that this is so ambitious and there is such a big effort to be put, that in the ERA governance, there is now an ERA forum that looks at the implementation of these actions and the definition of these actions. And it's composed not only of member states, but associated countries and stakeholders as well. So there are 6 categories of stakeholders that are represented in the ERA forum, and they're actively participating. So this is very important because we need all actors to work together. Of course, besides the ERA forum that is looking at the implementation, we have strategic policy body, which is the ERAC, providing advice. And of course, the council is the owner of the policy agenda. Last part of the governance for you to orient yourself is that we cannot do anything in terms of actions if we don't have also a monitoring system to see if we are achieving the objectives and how we are progressing. So there are a dashboard and also a EU-level report that has actually been adopted 2 days ago. So, and I really recommend you to look at it and have few information on that. So now, very quickly, we have been talking about the Agenda 22-24. You have, through these EU-level reports that I say it's new, just published, already an overview of what have been the achievements until now. So, for instance, in the Open Science, the European Open Science Cloud, there have been EU nodes that have been launched, and also the EOSC Observatory and Federation Handbook has been deployed. Also, another area of quite a strong advancement is the inclusive research ecosystem with COARA, with more than 700 organizations. Gender equality plans as well have been included to and provision tackling gender-based violence with the recommendations adopted. And then in terms of research careers and mobility, we have the European Charter for Researchers that have been revised and helps indeed to attract and retain talents, and the ERA Talent Platform that has been integrated with existing career tools. These are just some of the examples, but you can go really to this monitoring report, so you can see already all the actions what have been brought forward. There are bringing in next slides some building blocks of a strong ERA with some figures, and you might recognize the European University Alliance is launched, regional innovation valleys, research managers, ambassadors, EU missions implementation, open access publication rates. So you see there are key figures as well that you find there. So the idea is, okay, 22-24 has been successful in terms of some achievements, but then we had to move forward as well. So the policy agenda 25-27 that has been adopted on the 23rd of May in the Competitiveness Council actually is the political agreement, because the adoption is only after the translation. In the next slides, you see that has been developed through a very thorough understanding of what were the gaps as well that we had identified, compared also to the implementation of the Pact. There have been 2 surveys, feedback loops exercises in order to receive from member states and stakeholders what are the actions they would consider important to focus during the next 2 years. There was a communication in 24 and Hungarian Council conclusion where they were identifying also areas where to intervene. So if you was a very 18, we always like to recall 18 months of co-creation. And this is again a very important message for all of the stakeholders that are in fact connected today, because this is really a way in which you yourself can indeed influence the design of the policy agenda, and then you will be absolutely instrumental on the implementation of the policy agenda. Where we are today, in the next slides, you see simply all the steps that have been taken until now. So 18 months of co-creation, then is all the procedure for internal adoption by the Commission, that was on the 28th of February. Then a very interesting negotiation in the Council where there were some refinements. But the good thing is that on the 23rd of May, the document that was adopted that contained an annex with all the description of the actions remained as it was indeed proposed and as it was indeed co-created by the ERA forum members and with member states and stakeholders. We are now on the 4th of June, we had the ERA forum meeting where we kicked off the implementation. So from now on, all the 19 actions that are part of the ERA Policy Agenda 25-27 can be implemented. So snapshot of what the actions are and what you find in the Policy Agenda 25-27. There are 11 structural policy actions. So these are long-term ERA policies that are long-term. Therefore, we consider that these are actions that needs to be implemented in a long term, but this doesn't mean that in the 3 years under the policy agenda there is a work plan to be followed. And then you have under the ERA, the 8 ERA actions, so those actions that we consider that most of them new, but also that can be completed in 3 years, where there is a particular plan as well for an actions plan for the 3 years to be developed. Since we are under NTNU, we were looking at the different, some of the actions that could be interesting for the universities, and I highlighted just 2. Of course, number 9 is what comes out quite clearly as something interesting for universities, but I would say that most of them have relations with universities, and making research careers more attractive and sustainable has a clear link. A new era in research management, action or the ERA actions as well is quite relevant. I will not go in details for all of them, of course, because this would take a lot of time, but just to remind you that in the annex of the policy agenda document of this Council recommendation for the ERA policy agenda, you find an explanation for each of them. And in the explanation in the next slides, for instance, just to show what you can find, for each of these actions, being the structural policy or the ERA actions, you find the definition of the objectives of those and what are the expected outcomes. So for each of these actions, member states that are interested in a variable geometry can decide to get involved. And the same is for the stakeholders and the associated countries, and also being sponsoring the action. So they take an active role also to try to move it forward, but also find also other stakeholders or member states interested. So this is a very dynamic process. The action owners, normally from the Commission, works very closely with the sponsors, of course, because most of these actions have come from the state as ideas of the stakeholders and from the member states. And they are, from yesterday, indeed, from the 4th, moving forward with the implementation, depending on, so they have meetings, they decide exactly what are the priorities amongst the ones that were decided, what goes first and not, and exactly. So these, they try to involve. Some have working groups, some have a mutual learning exercises, so there are different implementations modalities. But everything is in a co-creation in the design and also collaboration in the implementation. So the other example that I put forward is making research careers more attractive and sustainable. This is also very important. This is one of these actions that was also present. So it's the previous slides. It was also present in the previous agenda. In the previous agenda was more concentrated on exchanges of policies, practices between member states. In this policy agenda, we look mainly at stakeholders. So next slide now, thank you. Just to tell you that if you want if you prefer not to read the document itself, but looking at a more IT-related version, in the next slides, I recommend you to go to this app, the ERA platform, where you see the ERA policy agenda, and you see exactly also the different parts, the policy narrative, and all the list of the structural policy and ERA actions. In the ERA platform, you will always find the updates of also the programs and the events and all the information related to the action, so you can really follow them. Now, this is in terms of policies. Of course, we know policies needs also some supports for the implementation. I have just one slide. You know very well anyway that in the framework program, you have a specific part, which is WIDERA, widening an ERA, that, and this is in the next slides, that support the different actions under ERA and as well for widening. One I mentioned that is, again, I think very relevant to you, is the support to the university alliances that has started already in Horizon 2020, continuing in Horizon Europe. Last call has been launched in 25 with a substantial budget of 80 million. And of course, this addresses European university alliances, but also provides also other opportunities to fund other aspects and collaborative research and innovation activities. So the universities participating have also in the framework program have been supported with around 39 billion. Now, next slide. We move now from what we have been telling until now, the ERA policy agenda. So what the aspects, very important of the ERA policy agendas is that these are non-binding instruments. So policy agenda 25-27, as I mentioned, is a council recommendation. As such, does not oblige any member state to participate, and there is not, while we are monitoring, there are not consequences of not implementing. So it's really based on a voluntary basis and voluntary collaboration and commitments to the ERA activities. As we said, another part of the policy framework is the implementation through a wider program, through grant-based funding framework. But all this is, of course, what we have done until now. But given also the situation and the recognition of the importance of research and innovation and importance messages to be sent out, there has been in the new mandate of our commissioner and in the new commission, the idea of moving one step further, which is through the ERA Act. So my next slides are about the ERA Act and what is the state of play. When we are talking about ERA Act, the difference with the policy agenda is that we are talking about legislative tools that are, so legal instruments that will be used to address those issues that cannot be solved indeed with voluntary cooperation. So it is a complementing tool to compare to the policy agenda. And of course, it is, as you see, is not coming out of the blue. It has some basis. As I was mentioning, there are two reports, the Letta report and Draghi report, explaining why research and innovation is important, and as such that there is a need also to move forward. That's why in the mission letter of Commissioner Sarajeva, you find a specific reference to guaranteeing the fifth freedom, so free movement of research, scientific knowledge and technology, And the aim will be to reduce fragmentation of research and anchor innovation and research into the single market. And it's indicating a reference to the ERA Act. So for the first time, the ERA Act is mentioned in the mandate letter of our commissioner. In February 25, there is the competitiveness compass out, the communication by the Commission, and there you see again the ERA Act referred to, but also with some clear identification of area of intervention, namely, and I will see it also later in the slides, the importance of investments, alignment, and circulation of knowledge. This means that we are now in the process of implementing what is the political objective that has been included in the Commissioner Zarajeva letter, and that has been also specified in the competitiveness compass. Of course, what we want to do it is, of course, to strengthen capacity and performance of the R&I system and protect the EU's position as a global scientific leader and bolster innovation and economic competitiveness to close the persistent innovation gap. In fact, in the competitiveness compass we are under the closing the innovation gap with third countries that we are mentioned. Zooming in on the competitiveness on the ERA Act, I can already, based on what was in the competitiveness compass, I tell you how we are indeed working and how we are thinking to address it. So there are definitely three main areas of intervention, as I mentioned, that was indicated there. So is R&I investments, so the 3% GDP target that you know very well was a target since Lisbon and then is not yet achieved. We are at 2.23%. And of course, the main issue is indeed identified, because we have to identify what is the problem behind, is the lack of investments. Then another area of intervention that was indicated is to have strategic priorities and to reinforce alignment of funding priorities. What is the issue there is fragmentation. There is a fragmentation that makes it difficult to achieve all the objectives that we want to achieve with ERA. Third area is to foster circulation and knowledge and talent across Europe. So we are talking about administrative barriers and high individual cost for researchers. So these are the three main areas that are coming directly from the competitiveness compass. And of course, they reflect specific problems, general problems that have been identified in the reports as well that we have mentioned. So there is clear evidence that these are issues. But then these are the macro areas, and the work that we have to do it now, but we do it in the Commission together with the member state, together with the stakeholders, because again, this is such an ambitious project that we need to have everybody on board, is to identify what are the specific areas. So it's in this big macro area, what are the specific issues that we need to solve, and with each action. So I'm showing this to you normally as something that we have been showing to the ERA Forum. I think it's the first time goes public, but it's just with the caveats that it's not an exhaustive.
Thank you for making us the revealing place.
So it's not exhaustive, it's not definitive. It's just to give some indication what are the sub areas that we are looking. Of course, so in which way we are looking at this, we have to identify the key problems that are there and what are the possible options for solutions. Knowing that one of these options for solution is to go through legislative measures. So this is what we have to do through the impact assessment that we have indeed to produce. This is a process, as we said, and in this case, we need really to have inputs by everyone. So how we will collect the input? The input is collected through a number of actions. So the first one is, and it's in the next slide, the call for evidence. So the first thing that we do to going public, and this will be done quite soon in the next 1 or 2 weeks, is to go to publish this call for evidence. It is a first announcement of the ERA act, what are the areas that we want to cover, why, and what are the problems that we have identified. And the idea is to collect the first collection of general evidence regarding the problems, and who knows better than the stakeholders what the problems are, but also what are the possible solutions. So you might have also in your countries experienced the solutions that might be scaled up, or you might see problems that we have not seen and for you are maybe seems small, but are the big impediments to move, to get recognized. So we want to have the problems, we want to look for solutions, and any comments from and inputs would be extremely important. So this is the first code, quite general, in order to have the first reactions and position papers. But this is not the only way in which we will collect information. And in the next slides, you can see as well that what will come afterwards, apart from a discussion in Iraq, this will take place on the 12th of June. We have done already an ERA forum workshop on the ERA Act on the 4th of April. So we have gone through some specific consultation, but then after the call for evidence, we will have, hopefully before the summer, the launch of the public consultation. So the public consultation is a bit more detailed, because there are specific questions that will also be built on the basis of what we receive as an input of the call for evidence, where we go in details on the areas and ask a specific questions. So it's in 2 stages, and here is of course going a bit more in details. Useless to say that your input is extremely important and much welcome, as I said, on problems, on possible solution, on examples and evidence. On the other side, we are also collecting evidence through studies for the parts that we don't have enough, and on the basis of this evidence and the studies, we start prepare the impact assessment, which is an internal process, because the first one that will tell us if we can go forward with the proposal for legislation will be the Commission services itself, when they say, yes, this makes sense, or not, you are over-regulating, this is too much, or there are overlapping. So what we are doing internally, the same way we are consulting widely member states and stakeholders, internally we are consulting all the services of the Commission, because you know very well, there are many initiatives that are recently launched, Startup and Scale-Up Strategy, the Innovation Act is coming, there are many strategies upcoming. So we, of course, and maybe legislation and we don't want, of course, to do anything that is overlapping, that is repeating. What we want to do is really to address the issues that are not yet covered, that can help researchers, and to create a good environment for researchers, and to work together with the other services to make this possible. ERA Act can become also a tool for the other services to implement part of their strategies, where research and innovation is involved. So with all this information related to the ERA, what it is ERA, the ERA policy agendas, and also the future, I would say that if you want to go deep in all this, please go to the ERA policy platform. There is the slides there on the ERA policy platform, where you find all the informations. I think slides will be circulated, so you get all the.
If you give us permission, we will.
Yes, of course. And then also the reports, etc. Now, to conclude, because I think we are a bit late, do we?
Yes. No, it's fine. We have 25 minutes.
Yes, okay. So I think we cannot talk in this period about research and innovation and what we are doing without talking about Choose Europe for Science. And I'm very proud because I can show it also on paper, the results of that. So how we arrived to this snapshot that has been presented at the end of the Competitiveness Council on the 23rd of May. So when we were discussing the broad context, of course, you know, as I said, for Europe, research and innovation top of the agenda, but we know very well that currently in the rest of the world, research and innovation is in certain cases a bit under threat. So when this type of news came, there was a recognition of important messages to be provided outside to show what can Europe offer indeed. So here you have in March 25 was the European Parliament plenary, our Commissioner Zagayeva stating some of the things that for us are important because this is what we have developed afterwards. So first of all, being convinced that Europe can and should be the best place to do science and research in the world. That is important to attract and retain researchers. So this is a very nice distinction. What we are doing now with Choose Europe for Science is to attract, but also retain researchers. So we look at new researchers to bring to Europe, but of course we do not forget the 2 million researchers that are in Europe. So we are looking to support them and to provide them with a safe and supportive research environment. And safe is, again, a very important word. To ensure that Europe can be this best place, what we have to do, she said, we must enhance our pull factor. And here two things that are important. What is the pull factor? And we will see in the next slides, but also the we. It's very important because when she says we must enhance our pull factor, she means Commission together with member states, together with the stakeholders. So the we, it's really this idea of what was called also this Team Europe approach, where we try to provide this type of information. So following this statement, of course, and following what was happening, and of course noticing that there's already some member states and some universities, some stakeholders were already putting forward some measures. Following that, the we was, let's try to pass a message which is a joint message, the Commission, the EU level, but also the member states level. So we had internal mobilization at the Commission level to see what is our pull factor, what we can do to pull and to attract the researchers. So what we did was indeed to look internally, but also to see what are the other member states doing. And then we decided to do a mapping, and the best way to go through was through the ERA forum. So once again, ERA comes back because this is our forum where we collect all these the important stakeholders and member states interested in research and innovation. So what we did a survey to the member states, we did a consultation internal, and what we have finally produced is, first of all, a snapshot, but this is just indeed a snapshot. So the idea was to collect and present together all these initiatives. What is important, EU level, what you find as announced, and this was also announced on the 5th of May in Paris by our President von der Leyen, and then further detailed by our Commissioner Zarayeva at the informal lunch on the 23rd of May for the Competitiveness Council. So what you find as the package is 500 million package from 25-27, which will be looking at 7-year super grant under ERC, and the pilot action under Marie Sklodowska-Curie, Choose Europe for Science, that are addressing, of course, the researchers, providing particular support and also looking at establishing them more long time. Then we have a call, 230 million for the ERA chairs, 26-27, will be adopted through the program committee, of course, discussion at the end of 25, and is again a way to attract researchers and top researchers to countries, in this case widening countries. And then we will have also a new fellowship scheme for researchers at risk that builds on the researchers at risk under EURACCESS under WIDERA 2026. So these are the pull factor in terms of funds. We have also pull factors in terms of policies. So the idea of a legislation on the freedom of scientific research, again announced by our President von der Leyen and repeated also at STOA in her intervention yesterday, the ERA Act. So again, you see how all this contributes and is fully in line with the top priority now to provide a safe haven for researchers and attract researchers. Visa strategy is supposed to come up in 26, and relocation and career support by Euraccess. This is only a snapshot. What does it mean? It means that it's not exhaustive. It's just like taking a picture of what we can offer and planning at this moment. But while I'm talking, I have colleagues that internally are still collecting information by the other services if there is something more that can be done. And we know that there are areas, because during the ministerial conference and the discussion with the stakeholders, there are issues that have come up, like data. It's another important issue. And we are preparing and trying to see what can be offered in order to address this issue. So it's not a definitive list, it's just a snapshot for the moment. The same is for the member states. Of course, what you will find also in this brochure, are the measures for the by the EU, but also a list of measures by member states. All member states are represented here, and for each of them, it's indicated what are the measures in terms of grants or relocation packages or diaspora or additional measures that are there. So this is at member states level because it was EU based, but so this was in terms, and it was printed for easiness on the basis of what we collected. But of course, our purpose is not to have something that is printed. It's something that is used by who has to benefit from that. That is the researchers in third countries and researchers in general. So we put it also, and it's in the next slides, everything under the Euraccess pages. And what is important is that researchers can go in, the link is there, and you can already click either on the country and to see for each country and regions what is available there. And at the same time, you can search by typology of actions on the other type of displaying in the pages. So again, this is now, it has inputs coming from the member states and the stakeholders now, but of course we are expecting, and this is again a call for you to get more information that will be of course uploaded so that this is always very much kept updated. And Euraccess is indeed already a very known portal by countries, and we know already that from certain countries, researchers from third countries there has been a quite increased in viewing the pages. Voila, I think this was my last slide. And I want just to close with a statement that comes from President intervention in STOA, recognition that science builds our future and that our mission is clear. We want the brightest minds to choose Europe. And all the actions that we have been presenting today, everything that has been done within ERA until now, and all the future developments of ERA in the future, I think aims at this, to make really Europe a heaven for researchers and for all researchers that are there and choose to come, that they find really the safe place to perform their research and then bring, of course, competitiveness and sustainability and benefit to all. So I thank you for your attention, and I hope I won't be too long. A bit.
And I think it was important because thank you for giving us the privilege to give a very, very new information to the system. So thanks a lot for this. And I would like to remember to all of you to reserve your right of challenging Magda by putting your names in the Q&A. I already have a couple of questions flowing. I will take my privilege about being the moderator to start warming up the exchange. There are a couple of elements that attract my attention. One is the fact that now you are working in the direction of the decision of this new ERA Act. And the ERA Act is, of course, going to be fairly in line with the competitiveness vision of Europe, competitiveness compass, probably also what will be the future framework for research innovation funding that we still do not know how it will work. So I don't want to enter that otherwise we will not end the debate. But there was one of the former ERA strategy initiatives that was composed by 20 initiatives, of which, if I remember correctly, 17 have been supported by the member states, but one of them have never been voted, which is the ERA hubs.
Right.
You remember, I don't want to put you in trouble on this, but basically the ERA hub concept, I think it was very interesting because today is very up to date to what is the policy of Europe in terms of generating innovation, but also creating the capability to exchanging innovation and knowledge between different European systems. And the ERAB's aim was exactly to create this capability to link the regional assets, the regional innovation hubs, if you want, going beyond the digital innovation hubs that are a successful example on how to generate network and exchange of knowledge, capability to generate innovation, finding, to other strategic areas. Do you think that the concept can be revamped in the context of the new ERA Act, or is something that basically has been dismissed because it was not absolutely feasible? Because it was giving, if you want, addressing the regional dimension of the capability of innovating, giving to it a European dimension.
Sure. No, well, on this point, of course, as we say, it's the co-creation. So as you we have to also to respect what was the process, of course, of gathering the links. But we know as well that ERA hubs is very much also close to the concept of the regional innovation valley. So the idea of the regions and these regional dimensions. So there is a kind of as inherited a bit the regional innovation valley is a bit also what were the objectives of the ERA hubs in a way. So I think, in fact, is continuing under a kind of a different forms and indirectly under the ERA Act, of course, because we have been discussing regional innovation valleys under the action under this RIMA, Research and Innovation Managing Authorities group, that is under the action that is still there on excellence, on access to excellence, that is under the ERA Act. So I would say that maybe not directly as it was before, but indirectly there is a form that brings the same type of objectives, and at the same time is also indirectly supported and can be explained and supported also through the ERA Policy Agenda 25-27, not the ERA Act.
No. Okay, thank you. I see now we have a first batch of questions, so I'm very happy to give the word to the one which have kept participation. The first one to be allowed to talk is Joseph Knoll. So Joseph, be ready to open your cam and microphone in 2 seconds. Yeah, you should accept. Yeah. Just introduce briefly yourself, Joseph, and then...
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. Joseph Knoll, professor at the competing University of Oslo, but I'm always...
we are good friends, Joseph.
We are excellent good friends. And of course, we work together in the resilience projects for the Norwegian society and all the societies. Magda, I really love the invitation for the evidence feedback, which can come from everyone. Because, frankly speaking, well, you see how gray I am. So I have been involved in EO projects since 3G, 25 years. And what I'm a bit puzzled about is, how do we want to form frameworks for an inclusive empowerment? I see that we are always doing innovation here, but it's never ever going to be the pathway to have like an including projects. And I don't want to tell you about all the frustrations of cloud storage, of IoT systems, of whatsoever, where we never ever got the European empowerment as a framework platform which can really compete up.
Yeah. No, okay. So first of all, indeed, we need evidence, we need all the experience, because I always say, okay, the ERA Act is very ambitious. And many said, okay, but it was tried already, it didn't work. So for me, there is always so first of all, we have learned. So for people that have been in the business for so long, and also having also all these policy agendas and all this reiteration, there has been a learning curve. So we know now what can work and what cannot work, and what we need. We have evidence, but never enough. So we still need them, but also evidence, and there is a political momentum too. So you said it's a bit frustrating because until now was not possible to do it, but maybe this is the moment because we have a lot of conditions. We have the political support. We have a clear, in front of everybody, the benefits that will be coming if we move one step further. We have the learning. So the fact that in the past this ambitious was not implemented doesn't mean that it cannot happen now. So, and what you are saying in terms of exactly the data, etc., it is a key issue, and definitely we have to try to find a way to address it. So I guess this is the moment, and if you have evidence, if you have from your experience also ideas, we are in the listening mode now, and this is the moment. That's why it was for me important to come here and also to explain where we are in the process and what we are thinking, and then getting your input.
I think we appreciate a lot your transparency in this sense, because it gives us the possibility to prepare in advance to contribute to the research you're doing. Thank you very much for your question, Joseph, and see you in Norway one of these days.
Absolutely. And of course, it's always this, our Nordic N8 perspective of the Nordics and the Baltics, where we have a very inclusive society, which is really fostering from innovation. And that is this concept where we have a lot of what I would call political steering. This is the framework for the society to develop. And that is what I'm frankly missing. Now I shut up. So
we have to
I
give
give
space
others
also
the
to the
time.
other. But thank you very much for intervening. I appreciate it. Have a nice day. Okay, next question is from a friend of 1 Hour is Europe. I always appreciate his willingness, and I suspect you know him as well, Magda.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
So Richard, we are giving you the possibility to talk. Please introduce yourself, as always is. Open your microphone, Richard, and camera.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Yeah,
Perfectly.
thanks very much. It's very nice, Magda. Thanks very much. And Massimo, again, an excellent choice of guest. And thanks very much, Magda. Just two questions. And one question. Massimo, you've already raised the ERA hub and the regional dimension. And Magda, you would expect me to continue a little bit about this. You've mentioned there's going to be more focus on the EU strategic priorities, and that is, as you said, the competitiveness compass, the clean industrial deal. And for the first time, in a way, the EU has a smart specialization strategy, key priorities, in a way. But of course, I'd raise this issue of there is still no place dimension in the ERA. And the second one is you haven't really referred to any synergies between other funding programs, because you've remarked we can't get to 3%, probably not, because a lot of money may be now for dual use, as you know, so is the issues on budget. But I was wondering, particularly on this place-based dimension and the synergies, and as you mentioned, the ERA hub in a way has been dropped. Is this because you've got the wrong people around the table? Are you just looking at the research-intensive universities in these discussion documents? And this is one of my things that coming up now, wondering why this place-based has been ignored for so long. And I think this is particularly relevant for universities of applied science. That's my question.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay. So no, what in terms of that I've been working for a long time on synergies. We know Richard since long time, so I paid him to say nice things about. So So no, in fact, well, we have, as I was mentioning, in the ERA, we have these actions that is still there as a structural, and it's good because it is a structural policy, so it is recognized as an important one. This is access to excellence. And in there, of course, one of the major things that is to be promoted and developed is synergy. So the group, the RIMA group is still there, and there will be indeed also requests for ideas on what to be dealt with in that. And you know, RIMA is between DG Regio and DG RTD with member states and bringing also regional dimension. So the regional dimension is not forgotten, it is there. We have in the ERA forum representative from regions. We have the Committee of the Regions, of course, but also we have the ERRIN and all this regional organization. And actually, what has been decided on the 4th of June at the ERA forum is that the category that was research organization was a bit too general, has now been split between research organization and regional organization. So now this is also to show that we are very attentive to the regional dimension, and through the participation, through specific categories also of the regional organization, we are able to bring and to have the voice of regions much more heard. So on this basis, as I say, a committee of the regions and the regional stakeholders are also expressing an interest in participating in the different ERA actions. And by participating actively, of course, they will bring their point of view and have a steer on the different actions on the regional dimension, which is extremely important. And our commission was in SEDEC and has already made it quite clear. So yeah, maybe it's not as evident as one would like to have, but it's definitely there. And the participation as well of the ERA Forum and this action, I think they are a proof of that.
But it's good to remind it, Richard.
Yeah, I always try to. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
And of course, for the ERA Act, just to complete, when I speak about stakeholders and their input, of course, the regions are also part of the entities that we want to receive inputs from.
Thanks.
I'm going to admit other two questions and then we will close. Dimitri Korpakis, please short, as otherwise we are really going beyond our time. And then I will take Ingun Borlag lead afterwards. So Dimitri, you are now updated as a panelist. Here you are.
Yeah,
Morning,
hello.
Dimitri.
Good morning, Magda. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted, I know that we have not much time, and I'm very much aware that the ERA framework has been always very much of an intergovernmental nature, although we have it in the treaty. So the whole array of the measures that you have put on the table point more to to a wide array of measures. One thing that I would like to see in this ERA Act that could be also useful because of the Letta and Draghi reports is something that would point to the competitiveness dimension and could be a much clearer framework for academic business cooperation, because at the moment we are missing such a pan-European framework that could really be applicable, I would say, in a more unambiguous way to the European dimension. That could really give a boost to our competitiveness. There are so many issues on the table. For example, yes, I am also for the fifth freedom, but this could also lead to a much stronger brain drain, and you know very well where all this could lead. If we have a better academic cooperation framework with the business community, we may have also what Richard has pointed earlier, a much stronger regional dimension and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thanks a lot, Dimitri, and nice to see you. I think what you are saying is, of course, extremely important, is under our radar. I think in the different areas that are mentioned there is probably what is under this knowledge valorization a bit, because it's how to valorize the knowledge that is developed in university and research centers and then can be valorized in business. So this is a bit the academic and business cooperation can be put there. Of course, this is one of the areas, and I had not introduced this point, but where we have to see also what is the articulation with the European Innovation area. European Innovation Act, because of course, as we know, research and innovation very close. What you mentioned is exactly between the two, depending on whether you look at the academia part and how they can valorize the result, and the business side on how they can also benefit. So this is one of the areas in which we are in discussion with our colleagues on how to address it, and in which of the two acts, or if it may be in two acts, but with a different perspective. But definitely it's something that is very important. And of course, Dimitri, with your incredible knowledge, we expect you to provide your ideas and inputs as well. And thank you already for that.
Thank you. If I may add, thank you, Dimitri, for being active. Thanks a lot. Before giving the word to the last person willing to put a question, which is Ingun, I was thinking academia and business cooperation is somehow at the basis of the work and approach of the European Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a comment about it, because I know that this is a political discussion which is ongoing, but basically I'm wondering if it would make sense to evaluate the instrument and see how it can be reformed rather than just being cancelled, because it gave a lot of impact in the capability of academia to collaborate with industries in many aspects, to generate innovation, but also to educate the new generation of entrepreneurs and innovators. But that's it.
And now we move to the MFF.
No. Take it as a personal comment. I don't pretend an answer. Absolutely. Absolutely. Last question from Ingun. Thank you again, Dimitri, for being with us. Ingun, we are opening your microphone now. So just we are opening the microphone to Ingun now.
What did she say?
Ingun. Yeah, I know. I'm opening the microphone to Ingun now. No, she can no. She said she doesn't have access to talk because we haven't given her. Allow her to talk. No? I think she can talk, but we need to allow her. That's it is. This is how I interpreted her comment. Then if she's not appearing, I will read the question. Good morning, Ingun. There you are. I think we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now I have access. It was a very interesting presentation, and I have a short question. I would like to ask you, how will the ERA policy and also the ERA Act follow up climate action, and also this new now climate adaptation plan? Thank you.
No, thanks a lot. So yeah, for what concerns the ERA policy agenda, you have seen a bit in the list. So of course we have tried to go also a bit thematic, and there are in fact some actions that are a bit more related to, for instance, AI in science. So they have gone more in thematics, I see, and also biomedical in a way. Specifically, I don't see climate. It's true, and as you know, it's a bit of a I would say is a co-creation process, but I see in the competitiveness, sustainability, probably there to have some climate aspects and adaptation to be included. For what concerns the competitiveness, the ERA Act, in the competitiveness compass, there is a part, apart from the R&D investments targets, the second part is how to reinforce alignment of funding priorities and identify priorities for alignment. So there is a clear link to how to better coordinate the actions and align priorities for key funding and strategic priorities. So there it's all an area in the ERA Act to be developed, because it's how we want to pursue this type of objective. And when we are talking about alignment for funding priorities, of course, the thematic elements comes in, so we can think about how we could produce this type of coordination and alignment of funding around climate. So these are also, I think, in this second block of actions under the ERA Act, there is a link, I think, in a way, could be established, but of course it's still very hypothetical, but the compass creates a bit of a link also with this competitiveness mechanism tool in order to mobilize different funding around strategic priorities. So would that be ERA and the ERA Act be one tool as well for R&I to identify these R&I priorities on which to mobilize this type of support? So this is a question, and this is also one of the areas that could be in fact covered there.
So Ingun, put the input in the have your say consultation about this, and probably the Commission will take it into account. Okay, with this last question, we are closing now the meeting a little bit later than normal, but I think the topic was very interesting and appealing, and I appreciated the interest of the participants. Before closing, I would like to inform you that this month, 1 Hour with Europe double its presence. Next week, on the 10th of June, we are going to have as a guest Esther Lakos, which is European Parliamentary Member of STOA, but also member of ITRE. She is very, I would say, expert of the R&I area, and she's very engaged in the MFF and Future Framework Program shape up. I think we are going to have an interesting brainstorming in this case about what could be the possibility of the future that will compose the framework for funding for R&I. So I invite you to register. The registration are still open until 12 of today. So you have 2 hours to register, and then we will close the registrations for this event. For the rest, I wish you a very excellent weekend, and thank you again, Magda, for having been with us today for the very interesting exchange.